Hey, what's up? It's Rumor Innuendo. It's a Monday. I'm Dominic D'Angelo of SEScoops.com, adfreeshows.com, and OneTrueSportTV.com. And I think I am here with Robert Karpelis, WWE Creative _ish. Is this Robert or is this Deep Throat? Who is this?
Oh, I'm here for those of you who are watching. My webcam immediately stopped working when I went to go log in. So that's fun, but I'm here. So if you're listening to us in audio format, as a lot of you tend to do on Spotify, iTunes, and the like, you don't know the difference. Those of you tuning in, you just see Dom. He's wearing his Pittsburgh Pirates hat that looks like he's a World War II veteran or like a Vietnam vet with all the stars on there. But happy to be here with you on this beautiful Monday. It just started raining here, Dom. I don't know how it is by you.
It's really nice out today, but it was raining yesterday. I will say that much. It was so a fluctuation of weather, but quite a wild weekend. Obviously, not just in pro wrestling. There's been a lot going on, obviously, but let's talk some pro wrestling. And we'll start off with SmackDown and all that went down on it. Robert, what did you think of this show? There was a lot of, we talked about it on Friday, how there wasn't a lot advertised, and we were both okay with that for the most part, but want to get your perspective of how you thought they executed the show ultimately then.
So on Friday's show, we kind of said, hey, there's not a lot of matches announced, but they will undoubtedly have some storylines to advance. And that's exactly what we got. I think we almost predicted it beat for beat on Friday, Dom, what it is that we were going to see on this episode of SmackDown. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It means that the narratives, the stories were moving forward. I mean, the matches, for me, for the most part, were just kind of there. And that's okay. You know, I think it was Dan St. Germain who made this point when I was talking to him over the weekend. He's like, you know, with AEW, the matches on their show are always great, but don't really advance anything.
Right.
And it's like on SmackDown, the matches are good, but then you get these great story beats that immediately hook you in. And it depends on, you know, what your particular brand of whiskey is, what it is that you want from your weekly episodic action adventure, sports and entertainment, pro wrestling programming. And WWE for SmackDown for Friday, I felt gave you a lot of compelling reasons to want to continue tuning in. Was that your overall take?
Absolutely, it was. I think there was. I'm with you on the matches. Like, okay, wasn't anything spectacular or like mind blowing or anything to that level of stuff. But what they did to build towards SummerSlam, to create some elements for you to be hooked onto as we even move past SummerSlam, I thought it was a really well done show. And that closing segment with everybody was awesome. Like, I just thought it was fantastic. So let's get into it, though. We'll talk a little bit on each of the stuff. Let's start with this, Robert. Nia Jax defeated Michin, but there was also Bayley and Tiffany heavily involved in the storyline there. They had a promo confrontation. What did you think of all this setup with Tiffany being the wild card in the mix and kind of teasing some stuff? Are they hooking you a little bit more into this Nia Jax Bayley match, or how do you feel about this?
Yeah, I think it was a really smart decision. It was a really smart decision to give Tiffany the Money in the Bank briefcase. Absolutely. And it was a more well thought out decision to include her here. Bayley and Nia Jax at SummerSlam is clearly a placeholder match. It's serving a couple of different purposes. Number one, it is establishing this idea that King and Queen of the Ring get a prize, and that prize is title match at SummerSlam. Nia was pretty well marginalized and left off WrestleMania, as was Liv Morgan. And in terms of talent management, in terms of creative, you want to make everybody feel like they're part of the team and they're needed. So this was a great use of Nia. You've gotten a couple months of her as Queen of the Ring to make it seem like what she's doing, what she's accomplishing matters, when in reality, we know she's not going to win. We also know a Bayley Nia Jax one-on-one interview segment is grim death. So Tiffany feels like a massive, massive star. And she's only been on television for a couple months on the main roster. So you go with the hot hand a little bit. You're teasing that she's Nia's number 2, a little bit of like that Mariah May, Toni Storm dynamic. And you saw at the end of the Mishin Nia Jax match when Bayley was left lying, Tiffany teased a Money in the Bank cash in and then didn't do it. So we know there's a fun story to be told. We know that having Tiffany ringside for the women's title match at SummerSlam, yes, it makes it feel like Bayley is threatened because, you know, she may help Nia win, but at the same time, Tiffany may just choose to cash in and take the title herself.
Right. And it adds a lot of, hey, what could happen on this? What are we going to get? Could we see a cash in at SummerSlam? And would that make sense too? It was neat. And yeah, I like, you know, that whole dynamic between those three of them was really, really good. And I'm just curious how long the shelf life is for Bayley as this, in her role as this babyface right now. It's just like, it's even Nia said it on there. She's no longer the hugger. And I think that was where she really found her wheelhouse as a babyface. Here, it's kind of like she's getting her footing and I think she's over, but it's also like she's not to where she was, I don't think, of that level of popularity. So where's that going to go? Hey, you're here.
Here's what I just learned, kids. There is a little switch on the top of my actual laptop that I thought was the latch to open and close the laptop. Apparently, it is the cover for the monitor for the camera. Had no clue. I've worked in technology for many, many years. I am the dumbest man alive. So that's fun. Hi guys, I'm here live on camera. You can see me. For those of you who were desperate for that aspect of the show. Thank you, Dre Owens, who said the old man moment of the day. Yes, this is it, kids. I am every bit the 41-year-old who does not know how technology works, except for tomorrow, because it's Amazon Prime Day, and you never know. There may be some neat gimmick that I don't have that could be fun.
Ooh, gotta look out.
Speaking of neat gimmicks, yes. Chelsea Green now has a bedazzled neck brace.
Yes. What do you
and this is what I love, and I'm curious your thought on it. Like, this is why I thought Money in the Bank as a PLE was kind of there, but the falling action where everybody has landed since the show, they've now got new things to do. So we saw Chelsea take an insane bump, and it wasn't like she took the bump and then there was no follow-up. We saw her go through those tables, and now she has this neck brace. It's now giving her character a little added something, and it's why I always beg our good friends on the Turner broadcasting channels to leverage what happens on their pay-per-views to matter for the shows. Because if you didn't watch Money in the Bank, you're like, hey, why is Chelsea wearing a neck brace? You may want to go back and take a look at it.
Yeah, right. There's added incentive, and like, you're rewarded for tuning into the show, and you get more of a follow-up with that kind of stuff. Hey, something that was kind of neat too is the aspect they had the World Tag Team title match on there.
I gotta say, I do like that you'll do like the Harry Carey thing. We go just put it out like,
hey everybody,
hey everybody. You ever notice how there was a big fist? Where is that big fist?
What happened to the fist?
Oh,
let me know.
Sosa had a big fist.
But DIY.
I knew you were going to do it.
I messed it up.
I was all right. It's 3 letters, so we knew we were in trouble. Like, everyone watching knew.
We had Ciampa and Johnny Gargano successfully defend their tag team championships against A-Town Down Under. But what I thought was really fascinating was what happened after the fact. And you kind of alluded to this, is that the Bloodline needs to win those tag titles at some juncture. And hey, this was a little bit of a tease of that, of just not only showing Jacob Fatu's dominance, but making that connection of it all. And then it leading into the final segment of the night with Cody Rhodes and the Bloodline. What did you think of that there, Robert? I thought that was pretty cool.
Love it. What I love is they know the limitations that they have with Solo Sikoa. So the Bloodline being presented in a pre-taped video package, the way they have them positioned and seated at the table, where he literally as the head of the table, Tama Tonga Tongaloa wearing suits, Jacob Fatu wearing his gear. By allowing Solo to talk in a pre-recorded situation, you can ensure that his lines are clear, they're delivered well, he's telling the story, he's not distracted by the audience, there's not chance. It is, I run this bloodline now. This is a different bloodline than what you've seen before, and I am aware that the success of the bloodline is in holding gold, and that is something we are going to correct. So when you had Jacob Fatu come out later, you knew what the story was they were trying to tell. Usually, I don't like, it was a Vince McMahon thing. He would feed tag champions to a single. He did it with Brock. He did it with Umaga, did it with Big Show. The list goes on and on. I didn't mind it here because it was a nice little like sleight of hand that they did, because you teased Theory and Waller finally breaking up, and you thought that was the purpose of this segment. DIY retains. We're going to see the A-Town Down Under breakup. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of it was, oh my God, here comes Jacob Fatu, and he just lays everybody out. And he becomes so captivating to watch. He's so interesting as a performer, as a talent, as this new guy that they know he's going to eclipse Solo Sikoa. And now that's by design.
Yes, it is very much so. And, I think that's a great point too, with having the backstage segment. And even though him in the final segment with Cody and the chance that he was getting and all that stuff, and Roman, referencing Roman and everything, it really sets him up as like this guy that feels underappreciated, has this sense of power that he doesn't necessarily, is not tangible to him. He feels lesser than, and that's the purpose of it happening. And so, and then I think what we were just saying about Fatu, later on, we got that more when they assaulted Randy Orton, and, setting that up with, Randy, and the cool thing of him teasing him wanting the title against Cody and stuff.
So they've continued, they've continued to tease that Orton secretly is after the title, the way that he eyed the title in Lyon, France, the way that Cody went out there and said, like, instead of feuding with the Bloodline, I should be defending my title against the best wrestlers in the world, while Orton was standing there in the ring. And then that little segment earlier in this episode where they're kind of getting ready, and Randy's like, look, not only the Bloodline coming after you, like, a lot of people are coming after you for your title, but don't worry, man, I got your back.
Yeah.
So the fact that Randy, who never helps people and is a viper and is a snake and is an evil man, helped Cody, and it got him a pretty big ass kicking, furthers that story. And that's the rewarding thing of watching WWE right now, which used to never be the case.
Right.
This is like, you're getting like post-credit Marvel. Everything in pop culture right now is MCU.
Yeah.
Even with them on the downslide over the last year and a half, 2 years of filmmaking. I know we've got Deadpool and Wolverine coming up, which will be great, a nice return to form. But you go back at that stretch of like Shang-Chi and the Eternals and the Marvels and the Ant-Man Quantum, not all very good, but for a very long time, it was, we're telling you the story that's right in front of your face, and we're planting seeds that will grow. And if you do pay attention, you will be rewarded. And the fact that we know we probably have another 6 to 8 months of storylines just from this one episode of SmackDown is what makes it. That's why they don't have to advertise a lot of stuff. We know we're going to get Solo versus Cody at SummerSlam. We know at some point Randy's going to strike and he's going to come after that title. We know that Solo is going to have to reckon not only with Roman Reigns, but he name dropped Jimmy Uso for the first time in a while. And I predicted last week Jimmy's going to be the guy who's going to cost him this match at SummerSlam. As you build closer and closer to WrestleMania. And there's just something about this momentum and this build and this build and this build until it finally erupts. And guys, if that made your mind thinking, then clearly you know that this episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. If you want to be as hard as the summer day is long, then get yourself a Blue Chew and bring the summer heat. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door, so you can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. You know, we're talking about the blue brand. Now, the blue brand SmackDown has been satisfying viewers. Well, this Blue Chew is absolutely going to satisfy the only viewer you care about, and that's your partner, because Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com, and we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code RUMOR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code RUMOR. To receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this episode of Rumor and Innuendo.
Thank you, Blue Chew.
Thank you, Blue Chew, for getting me to that segue. And getting us a really solid episode of SmackDown. But tomorrow, we're going to be talking everything that's going to happen on tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, and they have some stuff a little stacked up, a little bit more than they had for SmackDown. And but they don't give you the whole hog here. So Ilya Dragunov will challenge Sami Zayn.
The whole hog would have been the perfect segue to Blue Chew.
That would have been. It's subliminal advertising, Robert, throughout the whole show.
No, get your mind out of the gutter, man. This is a family show. My buddy asked me that. He was visiting over the weekend with his wife and kids. He's like, "Oh, my son's a big wrestling fan. Would he like your show?" And I'm like, "Well, we don't curse, but we are sponsored by Dick Pills. So 6 of one, half dozen." He's like, "Well, he's 8." I'm like, "Well, maybe not." Also, it's during the day while he's at camp. But we're here to talk all things Monday Night Raw right now, Dom. It's the whole hog.
The whole hog.
In a completely kosher way.
Well, yes. Ilya Dragunov will be challenging Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship in their first ever meeting. How would you handle this one here, Robert? A lot of elements. So obviously, Braun Breaker's in play, but Dragunov is on such a roll too right now. He's a fun guy to be tuning into.
He is, and again, unlike our friends over on the Turner side who are giving away Okada and Swerve and MJF Ospreay for free on television.
Yes.
Giving the audience Dragunov Sami Zayn as a first ever meeting is not a terrible thing because we know that it's in furtherance of this Braun Breaker storyline. Mm-hmm. So we're either building to Braun Breaker versus Sami, or we're building to a triple threat match. I'm not sure ultimately where they're going to land, because then if you go Braun and Sami, it's like, well, what do you do with Dragunov? A triple threat match, maybe something they need elsewhere, which we'll get to in a little bit. But I think Ilya and Sami are going to beat the holy hell out of each other. They're both very tough, very pale men. So there's going to be a lot of just weird red marks all over both these guys. And I think it's going to be a really fun match where you're not going to get a payoff. You're not going to get a pinfall submission. I don't think. I'd be shocked if there was, but temper your expectations that we're not going to get a clean finish, and that's okay.
Yes, I think that's totally fine. And it'll be interesting to see how they position Dragunov in this whole thing, because you don't want him to seem like the third wheel in all this. And I think it's going to be a tough grind to kind of make that happen, I think, to kind of make him not feel like that, even though as talented as he is and as entertaining as he is. So we'll see how they handle it all. But we also have Sheamus taking on Bronson Reed. Big man match right here, Robert.
Yeah, Bronson Reed is sort of the replacement Ludwig Kaiser. Thankfully, not for Tiffany Stratton. That'd be a rough go for her. But Bronson Reed is a guy that they haven't fully figured him out yet. Mm-hmm. You know, they want him to be Bam Bam Bigelow, but I think the problem with him in some regard, and you can't really fix this, is his face doesn't look particularly menacing. I was watching Deadpool 2 over the weekend. Mm-hmm. And he looks like the little kid from Deadpool 2.
Oh, I don't know.
A little Australian kid, fire or fist.
Okay. I don't
And
think I've
it's
seen Deadpool 2.
I think it's that, and the fact that you could fit like a roll of quarters up his nostrils makes it very, very difficult to take that man seriously. But that doesn't discredit the fact that he will absolutely destroy you. He also needs better gear.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
His gear looks like he's about to turn into like an armadillo and start rolling. But this is now about what we saw last week with Pete Dunne and the fact that Sheamus and Pete Dunne are not on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
So you're making hay here because Tyler Bate obviously out injured, Ludwig Kaiser obviously out injured. So we're trying to pivot, we're trying to get somewhere with it, and it'll be a very physical, 7 to 10 minute match.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, as far as storyline stuff goes, when it comes to segments we can expect, we got Rhea Ripley is going to open the show, I guess, and we'll surely have words for Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio. Probably the biggest storyline Raw has going right now. Are you excited for this? Do you think it's they're squeezing it too soon for SummerSlam, or do you think Rhea will be ready for SummerSlam by this time?
I think she'll be ready in time for SummerSlam. I think that the build for this, in part, was due to unforeseen injuries, and sometimes unforeseen injuries open the door for some of the best creative. We kind of forget that in a lot of ways, the best version of Steve Austin was when he wasn't allowed to wrestle.
Yeah.
And they had to come up with different ways to utilize Stone Cold on television. Rhea not being there, but being the spectra hanging over everything was a lot of fun. You look at what the Judgment Day was when she left versus the Judgment Day when she returned. It's two totally different entities.
Yeah.
So now it's the reckoning for Damian Priest as much as it is the reckoning for Dominic Mysterio, as much as it is the reckoning for Liv Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
You got Finn eyeing Priest in a very thirsty manner.
Mm-hmm.
Different kind of thirst, but a thirsty manner. Judgment Day has now let in JD McDonough and Carlito. And now they're a group of dudes who hang out and play video games, a video game system that was given to them by Liv Morgan. I have a feeling that video game system is going to wind up like a cake on most WWE programming and destroyed. And now it's Rhea reestablishing her control of this group. It may ultimately lead to the excommunication of Priest to help establish him as the babyface, especially as we're going into this Gunther match. But they do have the world title. They have the tag titles. And Rhea's going to go after Liv at SummerSlam. So then it's, what's Dom going to do?
Mm-hmm.
That's fun, goofy television, guys. That's the fun of episodic wrestling.
It really is. And for something that is so kind of like a wild outside of wrestling story that has a lot to not do with wrestling, it's been a very captivating story in wrestling. So they've done a really good job, I think, with it all. And creating a lot of elements that is, hey, what's going to happen next? And you always want that in pro wrestling or any kind of story telling in certain ways,
Well, because it is still, people always said wrestling is just a male soap opera in a lot of ways because it is weekly episodic TV. And to some degree it is. Rarely does romance in wrestling really feel authentic and work. In this instance, it's working. And it's working in a way that is transcending the business because it's getting huge views all over the place on social. And I think people just dig it. And it's cool going into SummerSlam that two of your biggest matches are deeply personal rivalries. This being the Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley situation and the very slow build of what's going on with Drew McIntyre.
Absolutely. And yes. So he's returning from suspension this week. Adam Pearce will.
Whoa. What were those air quotes? Are you implying Adam Pearce did not take this seriously?
I think he took it seriously. The character of Adam Pearce took it seriously.
I don't understand what you mean by the character.
That's okay. We'll let it go here. We'll let it go. But there was
suddenly we became the bump. I love that. Like, got to treat it seriously, brother. Got to kayfabe. Well, no. See, anytime I do Michael Hayes' voice, you can't do it without almost cursing.
Yeah,
I know that Bruce has his, do. The real noise, and I've said repeatedly, was ooh beep beep. That was the real noise. That was the actual noise that we would make. But then it was always well, and then the F word because it's so satisfying, and it's long. Like it'd take a minute and a half to finish it.
Wow.
So it's very hard doing the Michael Hayes voice and not utilizing profanity, which is going to be a challenge for Drew tonight.
Yes, it's going to be interesting. I like he can go toe to toe with Punk in the ring, but he can really go with him on the mic too. And it's exciting stuff. And the fact that they set it up, hey, Punk's not here this week, but Drew is, and Punk was here the week before, but Drew wasn't. So it's like, all right, we got to wait for these two to finally clash again in the ring. And it builds. It's to create a good build, and I'm sure Drew will do an excellent job tonight with that.
The real question is whether or not we get a one-on-one match, or with Seth floating around, if this is where you see a triple threat, which is a good way to hedge your bets if Punk is not 100%, but you want to get that match in the ring, even if it's a little lesser than what we're expecting. If Seth is not in this match, he's the guy kind of on the outside looking in, which is a similar situation to the guy I thought should have won Money in the Bank in a lot of ways, which was Jey Uso.
That's it. Yeah. And hey, there's a little bit of something to that too. Rikishi, who I didn't know had a podcast, spoke on his podcast about Jey Uso not winning.
Is it called the Quiche Cast?
I don't know. The stink taste. I don't know.
No, what? Good Lord, man! All right, Dom's lost privileges of speaking for a few moments here. What did Rikishi say? And please don't do the accent.
I won't. He did say he was a little. What was the term he used? He was a little. Oh shoot, what was it? I had it on SE Scoop, but I didn't include it in the quote.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're posting that on SEScoops.com, where we're currently streaming live.
Yes. Rikishi said he was a little miffed, paraphrasing, that Jey Uso did not win the Money in the Bank. He says, I'm going to go back to the numbers. The numbers don't lie with Yeet. The merchandise that the Yeet Man has done so much for the company. The Yeet Man, he doesn't have a bad track record. The Yeet Man is not a liability. The Yeet Man shows up to work and does what he does. And looking back at this too, Robert, when I was linking some of this stuff, yeah, I mean, Jey Uso was #1 in sales of the month of May. So he's not wrong here. And, you think about him carrying around a briefcase, that's marketable right there. That's more merchandise money to be sold. So
It is. And he was kind of my favorite to win, I thought, in a lot of ways. But they opened the door for this interesting Drew storyline. And again, by taking the briefcase off the table, as we've talked about, all due respect to my buddy Rikishi, by not having that briefcase in play, you now extend Gunther's title reign, because I feel like that's sort of the only silver bullet that existed to take Gunther out. Jey Uso selling shirts, getting Yeet over, is why he is a main eventer. It's why he pivoted from being just which one's Jay, which one's Jimmy, to this guy feels like a main event level star. He kind of doesn't need the briefcase, but I think he does need a compelling story somewhere. And we're going to get that compelling story most likely when Roman Reigns returns.
Yes.
And we see him align with Roman in a very different way, because he is very much his own man. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you someone else who's very much his own man, and that's Rob Van Dam.
Yes, he is.
And Rob Van Dam has a podcast, drops every Monday at 4:20 p.m. Dom, I'm going to let you whore it. Just you're like, cut me up. I'm trying to tee you up. Get to it.
Yes, the podcast is one of a kind with RVD, and we did record a new episode this past Thursday. It's dropping today for everybody at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We talked to Joe Holland, the guy who airbrushes all of RVD's singlets. Really, really cool conversation and good perspective on that. Katie Forbes joined us, and we talked about her doing a hot boxing event, literally boxing. I think it was Jenna Jameson's girlfriend, I believe. And so some crazy stories there.
Okay, so because if you're talking Rob Van Dam and hot boxing,
yeah,
I thought something totally different.
Well, it's not necessarily, because they literally did what you're expecting in that boxing arena for it. So, yes, about it.
So Katie Forbes is a boxer now, like Logan Paul.
Mm-hmm. So there we go. Yeah, tune in to One of a Kind.
I'm going to have to tune in and try to make heads or tails of what that is. You also got Straight Talk with the Boss with Magnum TA and Greg Gagne. But more importantly, the latest episode of Working Stiff just dropped with myself, Dan St. Germain, and Scott Chaplin. That came out Thursday afternoon. Then we did a Patreon this past Saturday. Both of those can't miss. Some real interesting news coming out of there, but real interesting news comes every day, Monday through Friday at noon Eastern, on a plethora of social media platforms, including the WWE Creative_ish X account, the Dominic D'Angelo X account, the SE Scoops X account, as well as on YouTube, Rumor, Innuendo, and Working Stiff, and usually on the Ad Free Shows YouTube page if it wasn't for that damn Jeff Jarrett.
The birthday boy. He had a birthday yesterday. Happy birthday.
That was yesterday. That was yesterday. Let him go have a Tupelo concession stand fight to go celebrate his birthday. But that's that. We don't got time for that here. All right. So on behalf of the man who doesn't have time for sleeves, Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpelis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
I ain't got time for sleeves.